This relatively recent case in the Queensland Civil and Administrative Tribunal is not actually all that remarkable in its own terms. Police surveillance identified a legal practitioner sharing child exploitation material online. He was convicted and inevitably faced professional sanctions. However, this case has two interesting features. First, when assessing whether a person is fit and proper to practice law, the court for many years used the Allinson test from a case named Allinson and the Medical Council. A person is no longer considered fit for practice if their conduct would be reasonably regarded as disgraceful or dishonourable by other members of the profession of good repute and competency. The Allinson test has now been replaced in Queensland by a statutory test based on community expectations rather than the standards of the profession. Despite this, the Allinson test is routinely referred to by regulatory bodies such as QCAT. In this case, Justice Daubney, the QCAT president and a Supreme Court judge, said, applying the long-standing Allinson test, there can be no doubt that the conduct for which the respondent was convicted would reasonably be regarded as disgraceful or dishonourable by other members of the profession of good repute and competency. It was therefore conduct which would justify a finding that at the time of the conduct, the respondent was not a fit and proper person to engage in legal practice. Of course, the Allinson test is a higher standard, and so any conduct which breaches the Allinson test will almost automatically breach the lower statutory test. The other interesting aspect of this case is that despite the inherent seriousness of the conduct, the practitioner was not struck off the roll. The court gave detailed reasons for this, but what they amounted to was that the practitioner had demonstrated insight and remorse, and the misconduct had occurred in their private life and not in the performance of their profession. Consequently, the court allowed for the possibility that if the practitioner served his sentence, obtained the appropriate psychiatric treatment, and served at least a 3-year suspension from practice, then he would be at liberty to apply again for a practicing certificate, obviously with no guarantee that one would be issued. From this case, we learn that regardless of statutory changes, the Allinson test refuses to disappear altogether, and sometimes even very serious offending does not make a person permanently unfit for practice.